Morning, folks. Hope you got your tea with you. My name's Mark Hatwood. I'm the owner, crikey, lost it there for a minute, the owner of the Harbour Gallery in Portscather and also the founder of Art Rehome. I've come to have a chat today, thanks to Painters Online, about artists and galleries relationships in modern age. A lot's changed since the days when galleries could just, sorry if I'm looking not at you, but I should be looking up here, but I'm trying to keep an eye on my notes, so excuse me that I'm not talking directly with you. Yeah, a lot's changed since the days when artists could just, or galleries could just peel an artist's label off the back of paintings if they didn't want a customer to find out the contact details of artists and sort of protect, if you like, their business model. And I think that what we've now got to get into is a situation of trust. Nearly every artist, or a lot of artists, have their own websites, they have Facebook pages, Instagram, Twitter, all sorts of things. So if somebody wants to find, a customer wants to find a gallery, an artist, they'll find them very easily. So it comes down to the trust now between a gallery and an artist and how we should work together. I pointed out in my article in this month's The Artist magazine, that an artist had liked one of their own paintings on the page of a gallery, and the gallery felt that was too much and dropped them as an artist because they were trying to cross-promote themselves on their own gallery page. Now, obviously that's a misunderstanding of the whole way, for me, the whole way social media works. It is social. And as much as that artist was promoting themselves, or at least liking their own work on the gallery's page, on their timeline, friends were seeing that they were liking the gallery. So that's the whole point. It's a relationship. We're both working together for the same aims. And I think that goes across the board from social media also into business, and that's the way I like to run my business with my artists. The basic question for an artist, I think, is that when they're approached by anybody through their website, through their Facebook page, through everybody else, when they have a gallery or galleries, is to ask one simple question: where did you hear of me? And if it is through the hard work of a gallery, promoting them in every way that they do, then it would seem reasonable for that gallery to get the commission for that work. And all of my artists immediately say, well, either go straight back to the gallery that you were thing from, and they'll negotiate with you on this painting or another painting. Or they might, in extreme cases, depending on the situation, negotiate it themselves and then feedback some of that commission to me. But we're forced into this situation now with social media where there has to be more honesty. And that absolutely goes for galleries as well as artists. This goes across the board. Galleries, I feel, have got to change the way they're doing business. I think just opening your door to customers is fine, but the modern age has brought us so many more tools to use to promote our artists, to get artists out there and get them into the public domain more. And we have to work harder for our percentage. Now, I know that there is a lot of questions about should we sell online? What is it all about selling online? And I'll get onto that shortly. We've had a few questions already from some people, and I want to touch on that. But the main point of my article is that we're living in a different age. We're living in an age where we have to trust each other. We have to work together for the same aims, I believe. And a rising tide lifts all boats. If you help your artist get more exposure. You and yourself will get more exposure. Nearly all of my artists have Facebook pages, websites, and everything else. They promote me. They cross-promote the things that I do. When I put anything on my, when I make a sale or when new work comes in, I tag the artist in that so people can go across to their page and have a look what other work might be available. And then maybe contact the artist and say, oh, I've seen something on your Facebook page that I quite like. Came through from Mark at the Harbour Gallery. And it's all about us all working together to lift each other's art and the other artists that I have in the gallery. So if one artist has a particular spring day, they might cross-post. A lot of my artists this morning, I launched a new artist this morning, and 2 or 3 of my artists immediately shared it and started saying how great it was, how great they were in the stable. This is what I'm talking about a modern partnership. It's about everybody working together for the same aims to lift everybody higher. So let me get on to I'll get away from the articles. A lot of you have probably read that by now, and if you haven't, it's available on in the magazine itself, and online and on my own page. So I want to get on to some of the initial questions. I'll just click on this here. You should be able to see it on screen. What should a gallery do for me? Well, that's a long question. Obviously, promotion, customer relations, you're the shop front for the artist. You give advice to the customer about the artist, the artwork, and everything else. And you feedback, I hope, you customer feedback. So, you know, what an artist, what a customer. Sometimes it's not very pleasant. You know, if customers have not grasped hold of a new direction that an artist is going in, it may be a painful thing to hear, but it's great that they get that feedback. I do these little pop-up exhibitions throughout the summer and allow the customers to meet the artist at these exhibitions. And they sort of pretty much run them themselves. So they talk about their work with them. And all the artists absolutely love that because they get a chance to really get some feedback and look at the whites of the customer's eyes and see what's going on. So I think that's really important. And again, those things, I don't mind that my artists are meeting the customers and chat to the customers because we have a level of trust there. So, you know, that's absolutely fine. What other should a gallery do? Well, in this modern age, I think they should be doing a hell of a lot more with the free tools available. Okay, websites cost money to build, but every gallery must have one. I think that we should be working with, sorry, there's some bits and pieces coming up on my screen, so I get a little bit disturbed with this. Yeah, websites, Facebook pages, Instagram. I mean, it's a lot of work. I have some galleries, some artists who think, oh, it'd be great to run a gallery because I'll paint during the day and customers will pop in and have a chat and I'll get on with my painting. If you're running a gallery, it is a full-time job. And a lot of artists that I know one particular artist who felt they could do that and they've started the gallery and they're full on with their artists, they're talking, they don't have a chance to paint. If you're doing your job properly, a gallery's job is a full-time job. And thinking that you can do that at the same time as painting, you're either not going to be a great gallery owner or you're not going to be a great painter, one of the two, because something will have to give. They're both full-time jobs. Now, a lot of artists are really good at self-promotion. A lot of them, some of them I know on Instagram, Facebook, and they don't even have any galleries because they are really good at left brain and right brain thinking. In other words, they're very creative with their art and they're able to segregate their time for their promotion and their mathematical stuff and the things that needs to be done to get their work out there. And if you do all the work and you promote yourself well and you set up your own exhibitions and you do this, why do you need a gallery? You know, you're working, you manage your time left and right. It is absolutely, you should do the work yourself, take 100%, fine. But a lot of galleries, a lot of artists that I don't like doing that kind of work. They just don't like meeting the customers. They don't like promoting themselves. They don't like putting on their exhibitions and doing the flyers and getting the promotion out there and running Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google Plus, etc. Facebook pages, doing things like this, podcasts. They don't want to do all that stuff. It's just too much work, and therefore they need a gallery. So what a gallery should do for you, to cut the question very short, is exactly all the things that you don't want to do yourself. And if they aren't doing them to the full extent, then I think in this modern age, they need to readdress it. And you need to readdress as an artist what galleries you work with. It's very important that you find the right outlets. So I hope that gives a bit of an insight into what a gallery does and what it should do for you in the modern age. And I've got a question a bit later on about payments. I know that a hell of a lot of artists have this issue with payment, and I'll touch on this later. It's a very difficult subject because there are lots of different reasons why a gallery might not pay directly on time. But for me, there is absolutely no question that once we have the money on an artist's account, unless there is special reasons, paying an artist should happen. We shouldn't be propping up our business as a gallery with an artist's income. They have hard enough time, or you have a hard enough time if you're an artist, paying your bills, paying for your canvases, your paints, your time, everything else, your bills for your kids and all the things that go with it, without having delays on payments from us as galleries. So payment on time has got to be a 101, and that's something you should have initially when you first talk to a gallery, is what are your payment terms? It's really important. 30 days is average. I think, you've got to allow somebody enough time to be able to sit down and get the monthly accounts together and pay somebody out. For example, all of the stuff that I pay on the 1st of the month, so on the 1st of April, I paid for all of the sales in March. That's just the way I do it, because I like to clear the decks in the month. And somebody might have bought a painting on the 31st with a card. I haven't got that money in my account. So there might be an exceptional circumstance where I might wait a day or two if I'm stacked with other bills. But ultimately, that money, as soon as it arrives on the account, is your money as an artist. And I think you should have it straight away. So if a gallery isn't acting that way, I think you need to address it. And there are various ways you can go about that. But I'll talk about that a little bit later on. We had another question, obviously. This is a big question. How should I approach a gallery? I'll be honest with you. I've had some emails which are absolutely unbelievable. One person had forwarded about 15 times this email. And you know those lines you get when you forward an email. And the opening line was, "Hey, have a look at my pictures. I'd like to be in the gallery." A gallery, okay? Have a look at my website page and see if you like anything. There was almost no pictures in it because it was forwarded so many times it'd been dropped off. There was no link to a website or Facebook page or anything where I could see it. So I had to do all of the work. Now, galleries, or at least the people running the galleries, or the people running the admin for the people coming into the galleries, working with artists and things like that, they're people. They're just like you and me. And when I get an email that says, "Hi, Mark, had a look around your website, got a really nice gallery there, love the way you do everything, and I'd really like to be in a gallery in Cornwall and I'll pick you out. Are you interested? Are you looking for something? I've looked around your website. There seems sort of something similar. Or actually, I see that you don't generally do abstracts, but I wondered if you might make an exception on my point. I look forward to hearing from you. No problem if not. Thanks very much." A personal email to somebody in a really nice, polite way. I have in the past, when I've had a little gap between artists and I haven't really been looking for anybody, and somebody has approached me, and I've not been 100% that their work is dead right for the gallery. I have taken an artist on simply because they're just so nice. My life is so much easier when I work with people who are really nice people. Be polite. Talk to somebody as if you would a friend. You're going to have a partnership with, potentially, and hopefully, you're going to have a partnership with this gallery that is, thanks, Eddie, that is going to last a long time. You're going to make money together. You're going to do lots of exhibitions together and everything. It is a working relationship, and it's about two people getting on together and getting on. You don't start a working relationship with, "Oi, you want to have a look at my pictures?" You know, it's not personal. You haven't done any homework, and immediately they'll just go straight in the bin. So some galleries get a lot of people, and the sought after galleries, especially people who work hard, the people who are honest and everything else, that they're the kind of gallery you want to be in. They get approached a lot. And so you've really got to do your homework to make sure that you get in the right level. And if you don't fit their bill, then try and explain why you think they should consider you as an artist. So I hope that helps. That later on, I'll just plonk it up now. I'll put this one on now because we're in the subject. It's a question by Alan we had yesterday. I've put it up on the screen there, framing, just because we're in the subject. He was asking about framing. He saw that on my picture, on the promotional picture. Let me just have a cup of my tea in my promotional cup, by the way. Always working it. In the picture inside my gallery, they all seem to be similar sort of frames. So he was asking the question, do I organise framing? Thanks, Sarah Eden, very kind of you. He was asking whether I frame that. No, I don't. The artists do their own framing and they deliver a framed piece to me. I do generally ask that they have an upbeat colour. It's just the way I do my gallery. So they tend to be sort of, the large majority of paintings in my gallery are in white or off-white, sort of these, I want to say cannon and ball paints, but I know that's completely wrong. It's an in-joke with me and Robin Mason. The Farrow and ball paints. I want to, so I always, it's just the way I do things in my gallery. I do have one of my painters, Jenny Aiken, delivered a load of paintings in almost black frames. And I was a bit sort of shocked at the time, but actually, you know, we did okay with them. So, you know, I'm not set in stone, they've got to be in that way. But generally, I ask the artist to do them in that sort of frame. But every gallery is different, and I don't know whether other galleries ask for an exact specific frame or whether they take the unframed works and pay for the framing to be done. I can only talk for myself. As you may, some people may gather from my post yesterday, I've only been in the industry for 5 or 6 years. So I've known very little about what other galleries do. I can only tell you about what I do. So this whole podcast is based on my own feelings about how things should work, and other galleries may have other ideas. But how best to approach a gallery, which is the second part of Alan's question, that really is quite a difficult one. Again, I can only talk for myself. What I do know is that a lot of the larger galleries do actually on their website have specific instructions about how. It might be sending physical pictures, it might be coming in, I doubt it's coming in. That's one thing I would definitely say from the outset. Don't just walk in and cold call on a gallery. They're usually, if they're, you know, extremely busy, and having the time to just drop everything and start talking to you, or worse, you know, other customers being around and then being locked in a conversation with you, is very tricky. So I definitely wouldn't suggest just cold calling and walking into a gallery. Do if it works for you and it's worked in the past, but I certainly wouldn't, you know, if somebody walks into my gallery, I wouldn't look at anything then and there, even if I had a bit of downtime. I'd just say, can you email me with pictures and everything else? It's just the way I work. So definitely send a really pleasant email. No, hey, want me pictures? A pleasant email directed to whomever it is that's responsible. Again, that may be on the website. If it's not, there may be a name somewhere you can find. Mine is Mark at the Harbour Gallery. Well, guess what? It's me. And send a really polite email, add a couple of pictures, add a link to your website and say, I'm really interested. You know, if you want to talk, here's my phone number. If you want to blah, 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 blah. And allow people to get back to you. I almost instantly reply to every email. That's just the way I am. But some people take a month or two. They decide one day in a month or whatever, and you might have just missed it, that they sit down and they go through all the submissions they've got and decide how the year's going to look. I don't know. But whatever it is you do it respectfully and do it politely. You know, have patience with the gallery, chase them up after maybe a month or so with a polite follow-up is my advice. So I hope that helps. As I say, these are all my own feelings on things. So I've covered that one. Right, here's an interesting one. Why use a gallery at all? Well, basically, it's what I said before. Thanks, Eddie. It's what I said before. Oh, I should say, by the way, I'm chatting on. I know I should keep repeating who I am. I haven't done that at all. My name's Mark David Hatwood. It's up here, just in case you missed it. I'm the owner of the Harbour Gallery and the founder of Art Rehome. I'm talking generally about stuff that the artists and galleries in the modern age of a main. So how galleries and artists can work together in this quagmire that is social media and websites and everything else. So why use a gallery at all? Well, if you are one of these artists that can separate your work really, really easily. So on one side, you can spend X amount of time painting, and then you can spend X amount of time promoting yourself, and it's a lot of work. So you're going to spend probably, if you're doing it well, you'll spend 60% of your time painting. So you'll only have 60% that you'll be able to get to, 50, 60%. And you will have to spend 40% at least to promote yourself. If you're not spending that amount of time promoting yourself of your day, doing, not just putting yourself on social media and doing podcasts and on all this, that and the other, but also preparing exhibitions, organizing exhibitions, talking with potential partners, all these things that a gallery does. You've got to be doing that a certain percentage of time. Otherwise, the next thing you know, you will have painted a load of pictures and had nowhere to sell them and nobody to sell them to because you hadn't done the rest of the work. So if you are happy to do all your promotion, do all your flyers, find your partners to work with, put on your own exhibitions, have a shop front of some kind. It may just be an online shop front. That's an interesting question. I can't read your name. Maryhead? Sorry if I got that wrong. I'll look into that. That's an interesting question. Sorry, I'm lost where I was. Yes, if you're doing all that stuff and everything else and promoting yourself, and you've got social media and websites with PayPal buttons so people can buy things or at least find out where it is you're exhibiting so that they can come and look at the work. If you're doing all of that stuff yourself, you probably don't need a gallery. You'll make a really good living from balancing those two things. And I do know a couple of artists that do it this way, and they're great at it. They're really, really good. And it's great to watch them. I mean, I learn from them because they do promotional stuff, which I don't necessarily do or haven't done yet. And I take from that. And I think it's really exciting to watch people who have got even more insight into the way social media and all that work. And I think it's absolutely brilliant when I see an artist working really harmoniously, and that link between working on their paintings and working on their promotion. I think I take my hat off to them. I think it's brilliant. But if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to chat to people all day long, that you don't want to interact with your public, you don't want to not be doing anything but painting, making flyers, talking to partners, all these kind of things, then you need a gallery. You need somebody to do that work for you. And you've got to pay a reasonable amount to do it, especially if they're going to do it well. If you're in a gallery that's not working as hard as you could be for yourself, then you shouldn't be in the gallery, in my mind. A gallery should be spending their time doing their part of the work that you don't want to do. So why use a gallery at all? Basically, you have to decide what part of this promotion work and art you want to do and what level you want to do it at. And you might find that if you just had a one gallery or two galleries in certain places and did some yourself, that might be enough. You might be a person who just doesn't want to talk to people at all, in which case you definitely need a gallery and you spend all your time painting. I hope that helps. What was this? I thought you had to, Maried said, I thought you had to go to art school to get into a gallery. It's an interesting question, this, because I'm very new to all this stuff. And I know there are some galleries that will only take on artists that that have been to art college, that have a whole load of string of stuff in front of their name, stuff they've done, everything else. Yeah, I get that, and I get it because they know that they can rely on this person to be professional and this, that, and the other. Personally, and maybe it's because I've, taken on a gallery with no experience at all and worked, just done it in my own way. And, without blowing my trumpet, 600% increase in 5 years is the result of the work I've done. So I'm doing it in a way that obviously seems to work. But in my mind, no. If I like your work, I'll take a punt on it. I've had some artists, and some of my artists will tell you, I had artists that have almost no experience at all, probably never been in the gallery or very close to not been in the gallery, very new to the art world and everything. And I've taken them on and I've put them alongside major artists like Ulrich Shetland, Peter Simmons, Peter Wallman, these really big league painters, because I think their work's good enough. So for me, no, you haven't had to go into art college. For me, you haven't had to do anything. You could be a brand new painter who's never done anything before, who just has a real great feel for it. And if I find you and I love your work, I'll run with it. I find nothing more exciting than discovering a new artist and sort of, feeling like I've brought them into the world and got them launched somehow. It's a great feeling for me. So I hope that answers your question, Maried. Sally, how do you get an exhibition without a gallery? Well, the same way that a gallery gets an exhibition. And I'm not talking about in-house. Obviously, we have a room that we do things in-house. I actually do very few exhibitions in-house, probably 1 or 2 a year. My exhibitions are all outside. And what I do is I either find a small venue that is big enough for one artist to have one thing in, and there is one, and I created this in our local area. There's a tiny little room. I pay for that small room to be used. That money goes into the community, which is fantastic. The artists come down and man that themselves, and they love it, like I say, to interact with things, with people. But if you don't want to do that, go and find yourself a partner. Go and knock on a few company doors. A local solicitor or a local law firm or something corporate that might say, do you know what? I really like this person's work. It would be great to help an artist. You can give a little bit of money from the takings towards their Christmas exhibition costs. they'll have the great thing that they're feeling like a mentor towards an artist. And you make a bit of money and you make a whole load of new clients. So that's how I would do it. If I was an artist and I didn't have a gallery, I'd go out and knock on some company doors and say, would you mind doing that for me? Oh, thanks. Irish from Margaret. I'm sorry about that. I got your name all wrong. So I hope that helps, Sally. Yeah, you just got to be creative. You're creative guys. That's what you do. Your partner's an artist and struggling to get into the gallery. Yeah, I have that a lot. So do that. You're the creative people. You're really the ones with all the sort of creative ideas. I spent 30 years in the entertainment industry. So I'm a very creative person, which is why I think outside the box when it comes to what I do. And so I consider myself an artist as much as I am a gallery owner. It just happens that I'm quite reasonable at selling art, it looks like. But I do think creatively about things. I start to look around if there's any hotels I can go and knock on the door of or whatever else to try and find ways to get your artwork out there. And if you get your artwork out there, you'll probably find and invite, when you do your exhibition, invite all the local galleries to it. Say, I'm doing this exhibition. I'd really like to be in your gallery. If you've got some time to come over and see me while I'm there, I'd really appreciate it. Remind them of it like a couple of days before. Give them a free pass if there's some sort of do going on or something. Be proactive. You can do this. You're creative people. I know that you may not like it because you'd prefer it to dump it all onto a gallery, and I get that. But sometimes you just got to jump in the deep end and say, right, I'm going to do this one thing to try and get my name out there. And I think that when you do, I'm doing this podcast this morning, first time I've ever done a podcast. I was wandering around the house going before it started because, this is really uncomfortable for me. So, sometimes you just got to jump in the deep end and you just got to try things out and use your creativity. Thanks again, Eddie. He's such a good guy. There's somebody who really knows about podcasting and things. I want to go on to another question now. I hope I'm not boring anyone. If somebody just puts up and think you're boring the hell out of me, get offline. That's fine. I've been going for about half an hour now, so I'm starting to bore myself a little bit. Here's an interesting question. Is selling art online selling out? Right. Now, this is a big one. The reason this comes about is a lot of, thanks, John. There's a lot of talk about, let me explain another thing. I went into our local organic shop and there's a guy chatting behind the counter. It turns out he's an artist. And I said to him, where do you sell your stuff and this, that and the other? And he said, I have exhibitions and so and so. Have you got a website? Oh, no, I don't have a website. I don't. And I said, well, how do you sell your art to up country or get people to know about it? Oh, no, I don't sell online. I don't think that's the right way to sell art. And I thought, interesting. For me, who's completely the other end of the spectrum, I said to him, can I give you a scenario? You've got a customer who's bought from you before, and he rings you up and says, hi, Peter, I've seen that new picture of yours the other day in the magazine or wherever else it was. Think it's fantastic. Can I buy it? And the chap says, no. Oh, why is that? Well, I only sell artwork to somebody if they're looking at it in the flesh. I like them to come down and look at it. Hopefully this conversation will never happen. But the point I'm making is that there are people out there who have bought your artwork before who want to buy another piece, and you are denying them that chance of buying it because your principles say, I don't sell art online. It cheapens it. People have got to buy it in the flesh. And I get that. I completely get it. I am converted. There is no better way to sell art than somebody standing in front of it and looking at it. I get that completely 100% agree. But it is not the only way, I believe, that people can sell art. To give you an example, I live in Cornwall. The gallery's in Cornwall. In February, there are almost no people in Cornwall because it's cold and it's damp and people don't really want to be here generally. I sold, to be completely honest with you, I sold £17,000 worth of art in February, 3 times the amount I did the year before, and 80% of those sales were people clicking on PayPal buttons on my website. There are people who have bought art before from a particular artist and want to buy it again. There are some people who will buy a piece of art because they just like the look of it. Yes, your art that's on the website has got to be a great picture. You're never going to be able to really tell if somebody's screens are good or bad. But you put the best pictures you can on your website. If you go onto my website, you'll see it's got this super zoom feature. Also in Art Rehome, it's got super zoom feature, so you can really see the picture in detail. You do your best you can to show that person that art. You give them a PayPal button that they can click on if they want to buy it or some way of buying it. And people will buy art online, especially if they are bought from an artist before. Do I think it's not the way to buy art? No. Do I think it's not the best way to buy art? Yes. I think the best way to buy art is in front of people, but you can't always be in front of people. And I don't think you can deny them the right to want to buy a piece of art from somebody just because of your own principles about how you think art should be bought and sold. That's my feeling on it. You can write and tell me I'm wrong and that art should only be sold face to face, and you can have your opinion on it. My opinion is give them plenty of reason to click on the PayPal button to buy the art, because at the end of the day, certainly as a gallery, that's my job. I've got to get you as an artist out to as many people as possible, as quickly as possible, because that's what we both want. We both want you to sell art. We both want you to be really, really good at really successful as an artist, that you can have your own exhibitions and big things in London, and that's what everybody wants. Success, whatever that may mean. And if success means to you doing only face-to-face exhibitions and doing it your own way, no problem at all. But I think art should be sold in any particular realm it can, because the more we do to promote the industry, the more modern, and that's why I created Art Rehome, is to enable the movement, the flow of art much, much quicker. And the more we can do that, the more we can get the flow, the more we can get people thinking, I love art, I love to invest in art, and this, that, and the other, the more the industry becomes more relevant, more higher on people's agenda. Look at what's happening in America. People like Trump just dumping art because it's not relevant. Without art, the world will be a very, very sad place, if at all functional. So anything we can do to promote it, and for me, selling online, absolutely. Would you use or recommend a buy feature on Instagram? Thanks for that, Eddie. This is a really interesting point. This is a perfect example of something I don't know about, and where somebody else has come in and given me potential. I didn't know there was a possibility of buying art on Instagram, but if there is a buy feature on Instagram, yes, absolutely use it. Use whatever tools you can get your hands on to sell art, because that's what we want to do. That's what we're all trying to do here. We're all trying to promote the art industry, promote ourselves as artists. Me personally, promote myself as a gallery using your art. We're working together to get everything, that thing I said before, a rising tide lifts all boats. If we get a great artist selling well, people will come into my gallery more. If they come into my gallery or go into my website more, they might discover another artist and start buying that artist as well. I hope so. That's why I built a gallery on my own taste. So Eddie, yes. Would you use or recommend buy feature on Instagram? Absolutely. Facebook, wherever you can get it. Promote work together with the gallery, help promote, co-promote, work together. We're both working in the same boat here. We're both trying to do the same things. And if a gallery you feel isn't working for you, isn't acting honorably, and I'm going to get onto that in a second because I've got a question from Anne about that, which is really relevant. Then question, where you are with that gallery. Pleasure, Eddie. Sally, what's this? It's a global market with the internet selling online enables everyone to buy something beautiful that they love. Absolutely. That's exactly it. You are in a situation where you're helping people to make it easy to do things that they want to do and they love. Why is Amazon so prevalent? Because basically you don't have to go anywhere else to do anything. You sit on Amazon all day buying everything you need: sofas, tea, dental work. I mean, I don't know what, but Amazon's got pretty much everything. The easier you make it for people, one click buy, all this kind of stuff, the better it is for everybody. I think, in my mind. And I don't think it cheapens art to sell it online like this way. It's a commodity like anything else. It's the same as music. It's the same as any other artistic thing. In effect, it's the same as a kettle or a cooker. Okay, there are artistic people behind it, and we want to be taken seriously both as the gallery and as an artist. But it's still a commodity. And luckily, it's a commodity generally that is an investable commodity as well. So it's a commodity that when you put money into it, 99% of the time, you will end up not only enjoying it, but also potential of an investment, because generally artists tend to go up in the world and become more renowned. So if you bought an artwork from somebody 5 years ago, almost certainly it's going to be worth more today. So it's not only enjoyable, it's also investable. It's got all the other avenues to do with it. So absolutely, yes. Pricing artwork and being consistent. Do you have a charge by centimetre for artwork? I've looked at it that relates to look at their price and tried to come up with a happy medium as I'm approaching galleries the first time. Okay, Angela, pricing is an interesting one. Let me put it this way. Take Coca-Cola. How much do you pay for a can of Coca-Cola? Edward, just answering this question for you now. How much would you pay for a Coca-Cola as opposed to, expect to pay, should I say, for a can of Coca-Cola to a can of Tesco's Cola? A can of Coca-Cola will be 50p, a can of Tesco's Cola will be 10p. Why? Because the can of Tesco's Cola has had no advertising, no publicity, nobody really knows about it. It's a byproduct for whatever it does. In other words, it's very new, it's very fresh, it's very young. Coca-Cola is very well known. It's extremely, they spend a lot of money for advertising. It's out there all the time in the domain. That's why you pay 50p for a can of Coke and 10p for a can of Tesco's Coke. It's simply mathematics. It's a market thing. So how do you start pricing your work? Look around at other artists that may do it. Or if you want to be mathematical about it, sit down and say, right, am I a professional artist or an amateur artist? Probably amateur or maybe semi-professional at the beginning. How much do I need to make from this artwork to make it viable to me to do this? Okay. If you are going to sell your artwork for 50 quid and it costs you 40 quid in canvas, paints and everything else to make it, you're going to make it £10 and you've spent a day painting it. That's not viable as a business. So if you set your artwork at 50p, within 5 years, you're going to be out of business and you're going to be on the floor. Will you sell it at £500? No, it's unrealistic because you're up against established artists. So somewhere in the beginning of that, you've got to weigh up how much it costs you to do something. Okay, at the very, very beginning, when you're an amateur artist, you've got to get on a rung somewhere and set a price somewhere and do it by looking around, see what other people are. But if you really think you have something, you want to make this a living, then you have to start looking at yourself seriously as a marketable person and set your prices based on what you need to make, absolute bare minimum of what you need to make, and then start building from there. It was really interesting. My wife has an exceptionally successful flower business. Well, she was a floral designer. She's now a floral rock star. She travels over the world teaching other people how to design flowers, and very rarely does flowers. But she is now gone from zero to hero with pricing. And it took her forever to jump over that stage, because she kept saying, oh, nobody will pay that much for my flowers or my art. But the second she doubled her prices, she also doubled her customer base. Why? Because people have this feeling that if something's a bit too cheap, there's probably a reason it's not that good. But if something actually is more than they expect, they probably start thinking, well, why is that? Oh, it must be really quite good. It must be good. Maybe I'm not getting it. So actually what happens in a strange world, in the mathematical world, or in the business world, is the second you start treating yourself with more respect, everybody else starts to follow suit as well. So you've got to try and be brave at some point and jump in at the deep end and say, this is what I want for my art. And if I can't sell my art doing that, then I'm never going to be a professional artist. So be brave, Angela. If it's you that is painting, be brave, approach galleries, price yourself at a reasonable price. Remember too, a very important point, I've seen artists work that I really like, but I can't work with them. The reason I can't work with them, they're too cheap. So what happens is, the average painting in my gallery is maybe six, seven, it's probably gone up now, £600, £700, £800 for a painting, okay? Over the year, if I take an average on the whole thing. If somebody is selling a painting on their website or on Etsy or wherever else they're selling it, for £250, by the time the commission's taken off that and everything else, it's not enough for me to be able to warrant putting a £250 painting on the wall next to a £1,000 painting, the same size, because the commission in it wouldn't be enough for me to warrant that space. So actually, that artist that I thought, actually, they're really good, I couldn't take on, because I couldn't afford to take them on. I'd have to take a hit in my business to do that. So it can be detrimental to price yourself down. Again, the best way to get yourself out in the world is be brave and price yourself at something that's workable, both for yourself and for a partner that will come in and do the promotion and work for you. We all need various ways of doing it. There'll be galleries that will be able to work. I don't personally do prints or anything like that. So I only work on original works in the main. And I have to make that space pay for me. And if the art is too cheap, I can't make that happen. And I won't even approach them. Even if they approach me, I'll say, I'm sorry, I can't work like that. And it's really disappointing sometimes, because I think, oh God, there was so much more than that they're putting out there in the world. I know I have artists that comparable to them that are spending, they're selling for thousands. So don't down yourself. Work hard on your pricing. Be brave on your pricing. It's always worth it. You can always come down a little bit if you get into a bargaining point, but you can never go up. How do you set your prices? Okay, Eddie, I hope that you've done that one. Does attachment between artist and his paintings affect the price of that painting? Does the attachment between artists and... Oh, I think what you're saying, Ken, if I get this right, is if I price one painting higher that's exactly the same size as a painting that I priced lower before, because I think it's a great painting, is that okay? Unfortunately, I don't think it's okay. I've had works in that I think they're going to sell in 2 seconds. And it takes 6 months for them to sell. I've had works in that I think, that's not a great piece, bit of a B-side, as we used to say in the industry. It's not one of their best pieces, and it sells the next morning, if not straight away. So I can never be sure what my opinion is absolutely 100% right with my customers. And the same goes for an artist, especially more actually so than an artist, because an artist, you'll get attached to certain paintings. You just think they're fantastic. I do too. Somebody will walk in with a painting, as I just said, and I'll absolutely love it, but I can't sell it. I've had artists before that I absolutely adore their work, really adore their work, but I can't sell their work. And so as a partner, I have to find other people to work with. And it is so disappointing to let down an artist that I can't sell when I love their work. So I don't think, to answer your question, I don't think it is okay to price the same size paintings at two different prices because you love one painting more than another. All I can say to that is, if you really like that painting so much, keep it. But you know, there is a market value set by you, I think, on your work. And unless all of your prices goes up, if you have a certain size painting, you can't have one be 300 quid, one be 500 quid, one be 700 quid in the same size paintings, because the customer will say, why is that? And I will say, I don't know either. Obviously, the artist likes that particular painting, but it's not viable as a business. You can't have 3 cans of Coke in the same shop, but it's 3 different prices. So I hope that helps. I think my art may be too cheap, says Debbie, but scared of losing my customers base. I do just about make a living. Should I put my price up slowly, 5 to 10%? Yeah, that's a really tricky one. And yes, definitely. You've got to be going up. Your prices have got to be edging up every year. I think, as a matter of course, pleasure, Ken. I think that as a matter of course, one should set their paintings going up in the price of index. You're a customer like anybody else. Sorry, you're a commodity like anybody else. And as a commodity, you have costs. Running the kids to school, you know, all the costs it costs to live, pay your rent, pay your whatever it may be. Even if you're a semi-professional artist, certain percentage, the reason you've semi-professional is a certain percentage of that money you're supplying towards your income. So you're not doing something else. That has to pay for you. And as such, your prices should go up incrementally, just like the national wage goes up incrementally each year, or should do, to allow for inflation. So absolutely, you're nudging your paintings up by 5 or 10% a year is an absolute must, I think. And I think that any painter that says stagnant in their prices is not only doing not justice to themselves, but this is an important factor. They're not doing justice to their customer base. People who have bought from them 5 years ago and their paintings are still selling at the same price. Where's their investment in that? If you want to look at art as an investment. I mean, me personally, I absolutely say buy that piece of art because you love it, not because you think you're going to make money out of it. That's the lottery. If you win the lottery, great, but buy it because you love it. But they like to see that their art is at least going up in price because the artist is going up in price. And that's not an unreasonable question. We're paying more for Coca-Cola than we were 5 years ago. We're just about to pay even more for it because of the tax. But so everything goes up in price, and art should be no different. I hope that helps, Debbie. And so, yeah, customer base, losing your customer base. I think if you nudge it up, I don't think you'll lose your customer base. If you suddenly went from, £1,000 a painting to £2,000 a painting, you might have a bit of a challenge. But your customer base should be respective, especially if they bought from you before and see that the prices are going up. They're knowing that their investment of the things they've bought before are going up too. So it's a double whammy, really. Does a gallery owner guide new artists on pricing if they bought in their work, or is it up to the artist to sell what they're looking for? Jenny, that's a good question. I do help an artist if they're a new artist. Generally, I've never had an artist. Pleasure, Derek. I've never had an artist come in not knowing the price of their work, because generally they've worked with a gallery before. And they've sort of set their pricing. But if they are new to the world, or if they feel like they're just springing into a whole new arena, Yeah, I'll help them talk about their pricing. I talk with my artists about their pricing all the time. Some of them incrementally set things up, but every now and then I'll go back to an artist and I'll say, you've really come on and your pricing is not increased at all. And I really think you should be nudging it up, not to make more profit, but simply to show that you're growing as an artist and you're acknowledging that fact. And there is only one thing that acknowledges market value, and that's price. So if something is becoming more valuable, there's more experience behind it, there's more time or effort, or even less time and effort, but that in itself is an accumulation of what you've learned, that you're able to paint quicker. So that should be paid for as well. You've been out there for longer, you've been doing it for longer. All of these things are experience, are the things we pay for. You wouldn't pay a CEO who's just come into the job the same money as a CEO who's got all that experience. So if you're an experienced painter, you expect to pay more for that experience. But yes, I will advise if somebody wants to talk about pricing, but remember that if you put your prices up in one place, you cannot have it higher in that gallery than you can somewhere else. You can't be selling your same size paintings at different prices in different places unless there's a very good reason for that. In other words, you're in a London gallery and they charge 70%, and the reason they charge 70% commission is because they've got such massive cost to run that gallery and that thing, and it's really prestigious gallery to be in. So the prices might be higher in London than they are down here in Cornwall, possibly. But there's very few reasons why a painting that is that size and that is 400, 500 pounds in Cornwall shouldn't be 400, 500 pounds in Nottingham. And if it's 500 or 600 pounds in Cornwall, and we're living, as I said at the very beginning of this, in the internet age. We are living in an age where somebody can click on a picture, see it, go out into the Google, look up that artist, go and see it somewhere else, and they say, hold on a second, that's 500 quid there and that's 700 quid there. Why is that? It's exactly the same size painting. And I can't answer that question. So if you up your prices in one gallery and another, you're doing a disservice to the gallery, to yourself, and to your own pricing, because the whole pricing is based on consistency. So if you put your prices up, you have to put your prices up in all the galleries that you're with, in my opinion. So I hope that helps, Jenny. Thank you. Good podcast. Keep going on. Thanks, Andrew. I might be running out of steam soon. I've been going for an hour now. I just wanted to touch on this last question. If you've got any more questions, please bang them in. I'm going to start to wind things down slowly. Thanks, Eddie, again. I'm going to slowly wind things down now. Pleasure, Jenny. So let me just touch on delayed payments issue. This is an issue that really is a big problem in the industry. I found in my very short time of being in it, there are some, unfortunately, very unscrupulous gallery owners out there who don't pay people on time, who use an artist's money to prop up their business, and then in some cases, and this has happened several times, I hear it all the time, go to the wall, closes a business, and they take that artist's money with them. And it is incredibly tragic, and it makes me very annoyed when it happens, because it is doing the industry no service at all. And about 6 months ago, a year ago, I really considered starting a galleries guild. And what it would be is every gallery can be in it from day one if they choose to. They just would agree to sign up to a set of rules, and those rules would be something like, pay somebody on time, work hard for the thing. It's just some sort of guidelines about how a gallery should behave and react to things. The reason I didn't move ahead with it and try and push forward is that as much as you've got guidelines, then if those guidelines are abused and the gallery doesn't do it, there's got to be a judicial system put in place to say who is going to take this guild membership away from this person. And then you've gone into a whole load of quagmire about, an artist saying this happened and the gallery saying that happened and everything else, and it's got to be properly monitored because you're going to ruin someone's reputation otherwise. So I stepped right away to this idea, but I am extremely passionate that artists, that galleries work as responsibly as possible, and delayed payments is one of these things that just irks me, as it does an artist, any artist. There is no reason at all, I think, unless I mean, okay, I have this stage payment thing where somebody can pay over several months, but I take that hit. So I'll pay the artist straight away and I'll have that money over several months, interest free. That's just the way I work. There's enough in it for me to do that. Unless there's a particular reason, like somebody's not been paid or something else, or there's an agreement in place with an artist to say that you'll only be paid over several months because of this agreement that we had in place before. There is no reason why an artist shouldn't be paid within 30 days of that sale taking place, in my mind. What I would say is, when you approach a gallery at the very beginning, make sure you ask the question. I don't think it's unreasonable to say, what are your payment terms? And could you even set it out, and can you just email it to me so I've got it in writing? If I'm going to take on an artist and they ask that professional upfront question, it's not going to be a point where I'm going to go, oh, well, hold on, mate. If you're not going to assume I'm going to act honourably, then I'm out the window. If I want to work with an artist, I don't think that's an unreasonable question. And I don't think I have any problem about putting that in writing, because that's the way I like to do my business. And I think that you would eke out possibly the ones that, well, I don't want to say that definitely unless there's something in place. And you write back and say, okay, that's absolutely fine. Shall we just agree that generally you pay this unless there is another agreement in place, which will be open? That should be reasonable. There should be no reason why, if somebody's irking away from that, then that should be alarm bells ringing. If you feel that this is the case, that you're not being paid or they're not telling you when sales are going on, then do a spot check to the gallery. Just turn up one day, have a look at what's on the walls, talk to them. It doesn't have to be investigative. Oh, I've come in to see what you've got here and what you've sold. But, you know, popping in to say hi and, you know, doing this, that and the other. If you're worried about the situation, then you have to be cautious. They have got a huge amount of trust. Is that you're giving them hundreds of pounds worth of your work. And it is completely reasonable to have a monthly, sort of at least a monthly or so, request that an account of sales, or certainly every 2 or 3 months. And if you haven't heard from a gallery and sales are going on and you're suspected, go in and talk to them about it. If you suspect things are getting a bit dodgy, don't wait until the 11th hour. Don't wait until the bit where you suddenly go, oh, I've heard nothing. And then you suddenly hear, oh my God, they've been put into administration, and you start panicking. Another point to make, by the way, somebody else said that their artwork had been in the gallery. The art gallery had gone into administration, and that artwork had been taken by the creditors. That shouldn't happen. In a normal gallery relationship, as far as I'm concerned, that gallery doesn't buy your artwork and own your artwork. So when you drop off that artwork, make sure you drop it off with the paperwork that says somewhere on it, this is on loan to you. So that if anything should go wrong, if the creditors should come in, you can put that piece of paper on the table and say, I want my artwork back. It doesn't belong to this gallery. It's not part of the credit from this gallery's folding up. And I want that back. And they should, by court of law, they should give you your artwork back at bare minimum, if there's anything there. Problem is, a lot of them have been sold and they've gone in and gone in anyway. So then you've really got no chance at all, unfortunately. So don't let it get to that level. If you suspect something's going on, move in and start making investigations into it and everything. I hope that helps. I'm sorry I can't help further on those issues, because it is immensely frustrating to me when people in the industry don't work. It ruins the industry. It ruins the trust between artists and galleries. And that is so valuable. The second anybody in a relationship acts slightly in a dodgy way, the trust is gone, and everything else falls from there. There has to be this trust between us, and we have to try and build it in, but don't assume it's there. At the beginning, just make a few adjustments to protect yourself. And if they're good galleries, and if they're respectful galleries, they won't see that as an issue. They'll see that as being professional. When an artist provides the artwork framed, would the costs be passed on, or costs expected from the framing? No, Edward, in my mind, if you provide an artwork framed, to me, that's the finished artwork. If you provide it without a frame, okay, if it's a box canvas and it's supposed to be that way, no problem at all. But if you provide a piece of artwork that isn't framed, generally, it's not a finished piece of work. Something has to be done to it to make it finished, to go on the wall. And so for me, framing is part of the artist obligation for me, unless you have a different contract with it. You're providing me with the finished piece, which I will then go out and sell. So price your work, including the cost of framing, is what I'd say, unless you have a different arrangement with the gallery. If the gallery wants to frame it all themselves, they might add a cost on, which will be taken off the top before the split, whatever you have, if they invest in the framing. But otherwise, you need to deliver to a gallery a finished piece of work. And if that finished piece of work means it's got to have a frame around it, unless it's a box canvas frame or it's something about the artwork that means that it's finished as it is, then yeah, I would expect you to give me the finished piece of artwork. Do you like your artists to stick to the same subject matter? Loving the podcast. Thanks, Angela. Yes and no. When I started the gallery, I decided to focus my attention on artworks that were of the local area, because I know people visit that area, especially because of its beauty. So, a lot of the time they want to take back a painting that reminds them of that lovely holiday and everything else. That is not entirely the case today, because I have a bit bigger gallery, so I'm able to take in some slightly abstract works, or maybe some works from different parts of the country. But in the main, my gallery has artwork that is Cornish-based, and certainly, if not Roseland-based artwork. But that's just the way I like to work. Your gallery should tell you the subject matter of what they will want, or if they leave it carte blanche for you, that's entirely up to you. It gives you more freedom, of course. I'm probably more restrictive as a gallery, although I try not to be. But at the end of the day, we need to sell paintings, and I think if I had a painting of Skegness Beach or Scottish Highlands in the main, then it wouldn't go as fast as the ones of Towan Beach or of the hills just outside St Austell. So personally, I have a subject matter, but I'm open to ideas and stuff like that. But ask your gallery. Whatever gallery you work with, they might have different ideas. They might be quite open to things. That's just me personally. I just had did the quality of framing affect the galleries taking the art? Again, Louise, thanks for that question. I don't know. I'm one gallery. If you've got a piece of artwork that's reasonably priced, £500, £600, £700 upwards, to expect a reasonable quality of frame on it is not unreasonable. There's a lot of reason, unreasonable in that sentence. But I think that if you have if you're a very young artist starting out and your paint work is not cheap, is not expensive, only a couple of £100, you can't expect them to spend £100 on a frame. It's ridiculous. On the other side of things, if you're spending £20 on a frame and you're charging £1,500 for that artwork, then it's going to look like it, and it's going to look like you've cut corners and it's gone a bit cheap. So in my mind, it won't affect me taking it, but I might suggest you up the game a little bit if you were more expensive as an artist, that you look at better frames. To be honest with you, I have never had that problem. Every artist has come in with something that I think is quite a reasonable frame. I've once or twice, very rarely, suggested that we change the colour of the frame, because I don't think the frame works for the artwork as well as it could, in my mind. But that's usually been because it's been on the wall for 3 or 4 months and it hasn't sold. And so I just try to find a way to get that artwork sold for the artist and for myself. Framing is important. The other thing is that you'll get customers, I get customers all the time come in and saying they don't like the frame, they would like to change the frame, they would, could they give me a discount? Pleasure, Louise. Could they give me a discount for taking the frame off and this and the other? That's all part of negotiation. Generally, I go from the outset is yes. Now, what's the question? Because the second that you start umming and ahhing and everything, you've got a chance of losing a sale, and nobody wants that. So it's all that's in a bit of negotiation. They will. Framing is a funny old thing, and it's very specific sometimes, and people want it in various different ways. So my advice is just do the best you can. If you've got a £50 frame and somebody wants it changed, try your best to get that frame back, because the artist. I try to get it back because you as an artist might want to be able to use it again. So you've saved yourself 50 quid on the next painting. We can offset that against the painting to give them a chance to buy another painting. So nobody's really lost anything in that transaction. Must the artwork be professionally framed or high quality frame done yourself? If you're a good frame maker, Jenny, do it yourself. Robin Mason, fabulous artist, fabulous frame maker. He does it all himself. Mike Hindle, one of my artists, he's a frame maker himself, makes his own frames. Nothing wrong with doing your own frames if you're competent at it. There's nothing worse, though, than having a really nice piece of artwork and then having a frame where in the joins it starts coming apart and you've got to try and bodge it together and it just looks naff and you've just trashed your own painting by cutting corners. So my advice is, if it works, do it. If it doesn't, if it cheapens your art, then don't cheapen your art, because there was my agent used to say about screenwriting, because I'm a screenwriter as well. My agent used to say about writer-directors. He used to say, if you're a director first, wouldn't you want to direct better scripts than you can write? And if you're a writer first, wouldn't you want a better director to do your script than you could? And the same goes for framing. If you are a painter first, wouldn't you want a really great framer to do your to frame your works? And if you're a framer work, wouldn't you want better artwork to be in those frames? So always remember, try to do the best you can for your painting, and try not to cut corners. But if you're a good frame maker like Robin Mason, like Mike Hindle are, then absolutely do your own frames. How long would you display an art in the gallery before selling? Who's asked that question? I can't. Who expect to display a piece? Edward again. Thanks, Edward. And when does an artist find a framework cost past? We've done that one, haven't we? How long would you expect a display of artwork before deciding you can sell it? That's difficult. I've had some work that's been in the gallery for about 6 months, 7 months, and it's not sold, but I love it so much and I completely believe in it that I want to hang on to it because it's just a lovely piece of work. And at the end of the day, as a gallery owner, sometimes I've had this before, I completely and utterly fall in love with a piece of work, and then somebody walks in the next day and does as well, and it's gone. That's a transient thing you have to get used to as a gallery owner. You can't take everything home. But sometimes I fall in love with a painting, and sometimes nobody else has bought it, and I get to enjoy it for much longer. So I'm not going to fight an artist about getting it out the door because I love it so much myself. But that's a little bit selfish. As a rule, I would say that you need to think of your gallery as 4 seasons. And the reason I do this in Cornwall is because there'll be a lot of people, especially if they're second homeowners, and if they walk into the gallery and find the same paintings from the same artist on the wall, that you're going to lose potentially some momentum with that person. And especially if they come in twice and 6 months later there's a piece in there. You want momentum both as an artist in the gallery, and hopefully an artist has enough galleries that they can sometimes take something out of there and put it somewhere else and bring something in here if they need to turn things over. Hopefully it's brand new work. That's what everybody wants, rather than regurgitated. But if needs be, artists sometimes get very, very busy patches, and I don't mind taking on a piece that's been somewhere else because I have a different customer base. So just because I'm seeing it somewhere else, it wouldn't necessarily mean that they'll see it in mine. But I try to think of art as personally as being a seasonal thing. In the summer, I want summer work. In the winter, I want more winter work. It's autumn, spring, because people come into the gallery with a different sort of feel to them. They're not going to buy necessarily a high summer piece at the Christmas, December, visit, because that's not what they're seeing outside their door. So personally, I try to sort of get a good turnover of work, whatever it may be, certainly every 6 months tops. It's got to be changed every 6 months for me. But I'd aim for 3 months, every 3 months or so. I hope that helps. How long we just spend on? We've done that. I'm going to galleries and see frames that are damaged yet still displayed. Angela, yeah, that's not good at all. It means the gallery's not really on the ball in my case. Pleasure, Edward. Unless there's a reason for that, in other words, it's just happened, or it's happened that they hadn't noticed, somebody had knocked it and they hadn't noticed, then, and that's quite, that can happen. Pleasure, Louise, thank you. Then it's not good to have a lot of frames that are knocked. It doesn't help the art, it doesn't help the artist, it doesn't help the look of the gallery. Everything looks sloppy when that happens. So it might be worth pointing out to the guy, did you notice the frame's been knocked on this? Maybe they hadn't seen it and it would be helpful. Thanks very much. I'll get it reframed, or I'll patch it up, or we'll do whatever, send it back to the artist or whatever. But yeah, obviously that shouldn't happen. You're paying a hell of a lot of money for art generally. Certainly in my gallery you are, hundreds and hundreds of pounds. And to take something home that's got a nagged old frame on it is inexcusable. So if it is, apologise, say, would you like some money taken off so you can repair it yourself, is the way I'd say it, or as we haven't seen it, or would you like me to reframe it for you? I send, as you know, I do a lot of online sales, so I send a lot of stuff by courier, and I package it really well. It doesn't always, it can always end up getting knocked a little bit, especially if it's not sent by art courier. And recently had a painting that was arrived, and the person rang me up and said the frame's a bit damaged. I said, no problem at all, make a new frame up for you, pick it up, send up the new frame for them. No questions asked. I mean, it's part of what we do as a gallery. We have to absorb that kind of thing. Yeah, damaged frames shouldn't be something that should be on show, and it certainly shouldn't be on show for long. And if you or your gallery has that, then address it as quickly as you can for everybody's benefit. Beth has asked, how do you find your artists, or do they find you? It's a combination of both. I've got to say it's probably more that I find people. It's not often, but it does happen, that an artist will approach me and I'd find them and I like what they do. Generally I will, something will come on my radar. Again, this is the beauty of social media. some of my artists might like or copy or paste something that they've done. I've had that before, and I've got 2 or 3 artists in my gallery that somebody else has cross-posted, and I've gone, "What is that? I have to have it," and approach the artist, and they've been agreeable and they've liked it. So beauty of social media is there are artists. I've just taken on a Californian artist, fell in love with her work, thought she's fantastic. I've taken the plunge and taken on my first Californian artist. Crazy, I know, costs of bringing it in, all this stuff I'm learning about, and it's cost a lot of money, but she's worth it. I think she's great. So I do take on artists that approach me if they blow me away, but generally I tend to go out and find it. But everybody's different. Some people are not on social media as much as I am, and they rely on artists approaching them so they can find out who artists are and everything. So definitely do it. And if they don't take you on straight away, they might say, well, I'm stacked. I mean, I'm stacked this year. But I might say, well, maybe next year, if there's time. I will take something on. Let me try and get some more questions. I'm very conscious that we're nearly an hour and a half in. I hope I'm not boring everybody. How do you find your artists, or do you find you? How often do you change your paintings in your gallery, Eddie? As I just mentioned a little bit earlier, I try to over about 3 months. I'm very lucky, extremely lucky, in that the turnover of the gallery is so great, especially in the summer months, that actually it's a natural occurrence that paintings come in as fast as they go out, and actually there doesn't need to be a physical turnover and change, because that happens literally on a weekly basis. Yes, it's amazing, Beth, how things are changing. The social media is changing everything. And I think that's why it's so important, sorry to jump off your point there, Eddie, why we all start working together for the same aims. We are all in there, the same aims, galleries, artists, everything. It's all out there. But working together is so, so important in this day and age, because we all want the same things. We want to sell paintings. We want to get names out there. We want to promote ourselves and everything else. We all want the same thing. Coming from different angles and for different reasons, we all want the same thing. This is why social media is so important in the art world for me. Eddie, to answer your finish afternoon questions, usually if a painting hasn't sold 3 months, definitely 6 months, it's got to move on. Hope that answers that question. Need to find a picture of a local frame and not too expensive. Yeah, do that. What sells best? Oil paintings or acrylics or pastels, or no difference, it's just subject? How long is a piece of string? It's all of the above. I couldn't tell you. I think in the main, I'm oils and acrylics. I have some gouache. I have some other pastels and everything else. There is no one thing where I say that's definitely the best. There are artists who sell a lot, but I think that's to do with their style. But I don't think there is anything that I would say that medium is the one that sells. It comes down to the artists and their artwork, really. And whatever medium you work in, it will work if you have a good customer base. So don't be driven by, don't think that you're painting in pastels and if you painted in oils, you'd sell more. It's not necessarily the case. Have you ever come across scratchboard work? Can't say I have, Jenny. I'll look it up when I finish this. Anyway, I think I've answered all the questions now. I hope so. Let me just have a quick look at Dawn, who's been fantastic in the background here. I hope you can still see me in posting and pushing these questions through me. Anyway, Louise, Junior, have you ever come across? I think I've pretty much covered all the questions now. So nearly an hour and a half in. I must be boring myself, never mind anyone else. I hope it's been useful for you. Thanks, Jenny, I'll do that. Would you consider taking on more considering on more artists for your website and not your gallery. Actually, Angela, that's very interesting, because I am starting, because I've such a great website. Boasting a little bit. No, what I mean to say is I have a website that's very interactive, and more people are using it. I just sold in December £15,000 paintings to somebody in Connecticut. So I would definitely suggest that I'm now starting to look at taking on what I call online only exclusive artists. So artists that I don't have in the gallery, but I can have lots of works. If I fall in love with their work and I think it works, I did actually take the Californian artist I told you about as an online only exclusive to start with, but then she started to get interest, and I thought, well, if we're starting to sell her work, if she's sending one piece, she may as well send all four. So so she sent those, and that's why she's now in-house. So it changes. But yes, I'm starting to consider doing online only exclusive artists. I've created this website, Art Rehome, for people who want to maybe promote themselves. It's a website to be able to just help people get their name out there, but more importantly also for the general public to be able to sell pieces of artwork that even that they've had for a while and they want to move on, or they've inherited and they don't like. So I'm trying to do things, Art Rehome's trying to do as much as I can to try and make it as cheap as possible for people to get their name out. So thanks for all those questions. Right at the website. Thanks for all that information, Jenny, and everything else. Have a cuppa, must be gasping. Yes, I am pretty much. I've got water here, but I'm not using it. Okay, so unless there are any other questions, I want to send my thanks to Dawn Farley, who's been working in the background, helping me on this, and also has helped put it all together. Obviously, Dr. Sally Borgin, for the editor of the Artist magazine, for featuring my article. I hope to be able to do some more articles in the future that will help you guys if you'd like them. Thanks you, Virginia. And also Deborah Wanstall, who's been helping me put together the article and everything else. Thanks, Edward. Thanks, Jenny. And thanks you guys for getting obviously involved and engaged with it. Really appreciate it. And let me just have a quick look, see if there's anything else. Great. So thank you very much. I don't think there's anything else coming in at the moment. Maybe we can do this again sometime, maybe in a month or so. I don't know. We'll have a chance. Thanks, Erin. And Eril, sorry, not Erin. Yeah, let's get together with another cuppa and have a little chat. Got any other questions? I keep sending them through to Dawn Farley or the website. Keep sending the questions through, and if we get a whole bunch of questions together, things that you really don't worry, Daryl, this will be on repeat. So as soon as it will be on the website page, you'll be able to watch it from the beginning, listen to an entire hour and a half of me dribbling on. Thanks, Debbie. I'll do another podcast. That will be great. So for now, yeah, keep feeding in your questions. If I don't answer, or if I don't do another podcast, there may be another gallery or somebody else that Dawn or Sally want to engage to do that. And those questions will be really helpful to kick them off with. Or maybe I'll come back and do another one if people would like that. I'd love to do it. Thanks, Daryl. And thank you all very much. We're 12:28, so look at that. We've been almost an hour and a half. It's been really good fun. I hope I've inspired some people to think outside the box. As artists, get out there, do as much as you can, self-promote, consider your prices, both for yourself to be able to work and make something out of your art instead of just doing it for everyone else. Do it for yourself. Yes, you love painting. Everybody loves painting and doing something artistic, but you've got to make money out of it. It's a business. So think of it as a business as well. Try and put on a business hat. It's really important. It's really important for you, and it's really important for people like me as a gallery. There's nothing, as I said, sadder than an artist that I love who are too cheap that I can't work with because there's no commission in it. So treat yourself respectfully, treat yourself well. Don't let galleries take advantage of you. If you feel that's happening, really work hard to try and address it and get it together. Without you guys as artists, we are nothing as galleries, and that's why it has to be a partnership. We're working together for the same aims. So let's try and clean up the industry a little bit, and let's try and work together and make it a really great place to be. 12:29, that's it. An hour and a half. I made it. Yo, Jenny. See you all again soon, I hope. And thanks very much for tuning in. And keep those questions coming in, and we'll do this again sometime. Bye for now.